I'm Mark Heidel, Director of Bands at the University of Iowa. It's really good to see all of you here. Did you enjoy the breakfast?
Yes.
Always a really nice affair. Thank you for coming out to this session now that we've had 8 or 9 years now. And so our guest speaker today is Professor Craig Kirchhoff. He's Professor Emeritus of Conducting at the University of Minnesota. For Minnesota, he held teaching positions at the Ohio State University, Washington State University, University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, was active with the Oklahoma State Orchestra. I could be here all morning going through his distinguished career. He continues to have an international and distinguished career. We're very fortunate that he agreed to share some time with us this morning. So the format of this is one that's informal. The guest speakers typically open with a few remarks of their choosing, but the lion's share of this session is based on questions and answers. So please think about some questions, and we'll stop at 11 o'clock, a little bit sooner, and I'll manage that. But everybody, please help me give a warm welcome to Craig Kirchhoff.
For my voice. I've decided that if you're going to stay healthy, you don't visit your granddaughters. We have twin 3.5-year-old granddaughters. Great, that's it. But I'm good. So I hope that this will be a conversation rather than me just talking, but I did want to read a couple of things here, at least one thing. There's a book that I came upon maybe a year and a half ago. It's called Dancing with the Gods by Kent Newberg. It's a really good read. It's a fast read, and it's actually very profound. But he wrote this is his quote about success. There's a great difference between success and accomplishment. Success is an external measure of fame or financial reward. Accomplishment is the body of work, the achievement of the life, the fruit of long patience, and the steadfast fulfillment of the artistic journey. And it may or may not correspond to any fashion with success. The reason I read this to you, I wish I would have read this 45 years ago. And I think I've come to this point in my life where how you define success for yourself, and that's a very personal decision, is going to have a lot to do with the kinds of decisions that you make in your own professional career. Does that make sense? Because the profession is very seductive. And in some respects, and I can say this because I'm an old guy now, I think that people think in the profession that there are only certain pathways to follow which define success. For instance, I think too many people in a profession define success by where you teach. And the criterion for that is how big is the school? How big is your budget? How many graduate students do you have? How many recordings have you done? And that's all important, but I don't believe in any respect that really defines success. But it's difficult to sort that out, especially as a younger person. I think what's really important is the sense of accomplishment, how you interact with your students every day. And it doesn't make any difference where you teach. It doesn't make any difference whether it's a small community college or four-year college, or if it's a big tier 1 research institution. It's how you react with your students every day. So I just wanted to mention that because I think it's, again, how you define success is in a sense going to determine your pathway and what you're going to do and the kinds of decisions you're going to make. So that's the opening shot. So, what questions or any other thoughts about any of these questions that you may have? I will not answer any questions about how to do Skype interviews. I'm kidding. If you want to answer, I'll answer that too. Yeah.
Do you think the profession has always been this seductive, or is this a recent development you've seen?
It's my sense that it's always been that way, but I think it's become accelerated or more exaggerated. So I think there are quadrants of people teaching who feel marginalized. And the profession is changing. So in the Windependent series that I curate, you guys know Vientos y Tangos of Michael Gandolfo? So the Eastern Division of CBDNA has commissioned him to redo Vientos y Tangos with a different instrumentation, because most of the colleges in the Eastern Division don't have what? Full instrumentation. So it's just the reality that we're all working with. He's not dumbing down the piece, but he's making it possible for more schools to be able to encounter that specific work. But my sense is, and again, it's just my own feeling, and I could be totally wrong about this, but as I look back upon my career and as I see things, because now I have more time to reflect about things, I do become more worried about this. That where you teach seems to be more important than anything else. And I just simply disagree with that. Good question. Yeah.
In addition to the coursework we're all going through, what do you think are some of the most important things we can be doing, whether we're in our master's or doctorate, as we're looking towards getting back into the workforce, in addition to our coursework? Sorry.
You don't have to apologize. Well, first of all, this is really important. And that is, in your lives as students about to emerge into the professional world, think about this, is to make sure that you don't identify who you are just by what you do. Does that make sense? And I'll give you an example of this. We have a sailboat up in Lake Superior, and for a long time, my Pier 2 community had no idea what I did. And I had no idea what they did. Nobody cared what you did in life. Nobody cared how much money you made. The only thing that was important was what kind of a person you were. Were you willing to help people in and out of the docks with their boats? Or did you have a tool that maybe somebody else needed? So identifying people at their profession or their financials has nothing to do with Pier 2. And I think it's just really important for you to know who you are and to identify what's at the core of your soul and of your being. And if it's just things professional, then I think you need to rethink that. Because I think the hardest thing for us, at least for me, moving from graduate work to starting to work I was so focused. Red heat, white heat energy, what I was doing, without at times focusing on myself. I got lost in the process. And so you have to figure out a way. And as a grad student, this is hard to do. I used to tell my grad students, do something just for yourself every day. A little thing. It's liberating. It's liberating. Like just sitting outside on a nice day without a score and just enjoying the sunshine. You know how weird I was? I grew up in Milwaukee, so I was a Green Bay Packers fan. So I thought, well, the only way I can watch a Green Bay Packers game is if I had a score. And those were the days where this is so, I'm sorry I'm admitting this. You know, I used to mark 4Ks. Every 4K was circled with red. Every piano was circled with pink. So I would do that because that's mindless activity. Because then I didn't have to feel guilty. I don't do that anymore. So I think you just have to keep investing in yourself. And sometimes, and all of you, I'm sure, have hobbies, right? Things you like to do. You know, when my eyes were better, I used to play racquetball. I actually played racquetball with Joe Schwarber. He beat me every game. I hate him. I mean, I love to play racquetball. I love to cook. Because it's just fun, and I can eat it. I eat it. And I love to sail because sailing is one of the few things that I can do that I can get music out of my head. Because sailing is not a visual phenomenon, it's an oral phenomenon. You can hear the wind against the sail, you can hear the water against the hull, and you know exactly what's happening to the boat. So I know this is not an academic answer, but I think every one of you have to figure out who you are, what's important in your life, and keep feeding yourself. Because as you start those first jobs, and you're working 60, 70 hours a week, although no one's telling you to do that, but we do that because we put that pressure on ourselves. You just have to be aware that don't get lost. Don't get lost. And I think that there are some people who wanted to come and study at the University of Minnesota. I would always ask them, why do you want to come and study and get a master's degree? If they told me, if the answer was, because I want to teach at the college level, that was it, that conversation ended pretty quickly. I was not interested in that kind of a person. But I think there are a lot of people who think that teaching at the college level is a lot easier than teaching at the high school level. And it's not. There's just different stresses in different ways. But it's still hard work. Hard work. My sense when I was working is that, no one was going to outwork me because I never felt that I was very talented. So the only way I could succeed was just working harder than everybody else. It's kind of a crazy way to think, but that's how I operate. But it's hard work. I don't know if I answered that. But these are good questions. Yeah.
So how, over your career, mentoring graduate students, has there been one, or maybe more than one, areas of study that you wish students coming into the graduate program were more well prepared during their undergraduate times? Any like consistent weaknesses that maybe we or going through the profession can address once we're teaching?
Not so much musically, but I wish people could write better. I wish people were able to write better. For years and years at Ohio State, and really my first, 10 years in Minnesota, I really didn't, this is going to sound crazy, I didn't want a DMA program because we had very cooperative faculties. Music ed really wanted to collaborate and have a strong collaboration with the conducting program. And I felt that if my students, and that's a lot of work, because as we all know, a PhD degree is a research degree. But I wanted them to have those experiences, which meant it was more work for themselves. And they'd have to learn how to write. They'd have to learn how to research. And I think that's really, really important. Every year I would ask my graduate students to write some kind of philosophy paper. I'm sure all of you have done that. And sometimes I've been just shocked at how bad the writing is. So that's one thing that I think that's important, because that's an important marker in your professional work at the college level, your ability to write and communicate. You want to say something?
No, I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess that's the one thing. That's the one thing. And I don't know why that's happening. I don't know. I just think people have lost the art of coherent thought and the ability to put that down on paper. Musically, I think everyone comes, with usually pretty good skills. Some people are better conductors than others. Some people have better ears than others. They just have to develop those things more. But writing, I think, is the real, for me, is always the real. Yeah.
Back to your opening about how you frame success and what it means to you no matter where you're teaching. I was wondering if there are a couple of moments throughout wherever you were teaching that kind of stand out to you as moments where you felt that you had accomplished that and then you kind of got to the core of what it was all about for you.
Where I felt like I accomplished.
Yeah, like where you felt successful, not by a marker of where you're teaching, but what was happening in your ensemble or in the classroom.
No. Rarely did I ever feel that. And every job I went to, I literally backed into. So my teaching career started at John Marshall Junior Senior High School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was the largest school in the state at that time. So it was a junior senior high school. So I could not complain about my feeder program because I was in. So I had 2 7th grade bands, 2 8th grade bands, an intermediate band, and symphonic band, and then we did jazz ensemble after school, and sectionals at 7:30 in the morning. And it was me. And it was fantastic. I loved it. And then I was doing a lot of playing in Milwaukee, so I was like a pig in mud. I loved it. And then there was that fateful day that changed my life. My friend Rick Aaron, Rick and I started in 5th grade flute class together. And you know how 5th graders are. And I can remember both of us were in tears because we couldn't go from C to D. Just couldn't do it. And we had the same private flute teacher, Amanda Page, get on the bus together and go take a private lesson. But Rick called me, he was in Madison, Wisconsin, and he said, hey, what are you doing this week? I said, not much. He said, why don't you come to Madison? I'm playing in this lab band. It's a conducting symposium, and Frederick Fennell is the teacher. And I thought, cool. I'll go do that. And Rick said, well, Saturday morning, we'll go to the state capitol where they always have the farmers market. On Saturday morning, we'll play cool out duets, open our case. Pick any money, we'll buy a nice bottle of wine that day. So I went. I was just expecting to go and have a nice time with Rick and enjoying all of that. And then this little person called Frederick Fennell. I watched Fred conduct, and I went, how does he do that? How can he get people to play that way? And of course, every score he did by memory. And I thought I knew a little. I mean, I was a better than average conductor as a kid, and I suddenly realized I don't know squat about conducting. But every time he got up on the podium, what he did and the sounds that he elicited were stunning to me. He actually gave his last public performance at the University of Minnesota. This is just literally 2.5 months before he died. This is an interesting story. So I called Fred in the morning, in the summer, some morning, and I said, Fred, we really need to talk about what piece you're going to do on the concert. And the reason for that is he was suffering from congenital heart failure. His doctor said you can't fly, you can't drive, you can't conduct. For Fred, that was the end. So I said, we need to make a decision about what you're going to conduct on the concert. And Fred says to me, you mean I'm not going to conduct the whole concert? Now, Fred, you know you can't do that. Your doctor shoot me. Fine. I'm not coming. Boom. The phone was done. True story. And he was like a second father to me at that point. So I knew Fred pretty well, so I just let him stew for a day. I thought about it. I called him back a day later. Turns out, he conducted the whole concert. Margie Underwood, who was one of our TAs, she had the responsibility for getting him back and forth to the hotel. And Margie tells me the story that they got, somebody else was driving, she was in the back seat with him, and Fred looked at her and touched her knee and said, can you believe it? I'm going to conduct an entire concert tonight. And Margie said he was just lit up like this little elf. And so I'm standing behind stage. One of his favorite pieces was, I think it's from the Fourth Symphony of Alfred Reed, the Perazzi Variations. It sounds more like Wagner than it does Alfred Reed. And he starts this piece, and I go, oh my God. It's the same reaction that I had 35 years ago. How does he get these sounds? Because, he struggled to get on the podium, and then, bam, it was right there. So this is a long way of saying that he was such an inspiration to me as a high school band director. I figured I need to go back to graduate school and figure this out. So that's how I ended up going to grad school. I never in any thought of my life did I ever think I would be a Big Ten band director. I backed into it. And then I had to make a living. So I ended up teaching out in Washington State, which I loved because I was in the mountains. You don't go to Menards to get chips for your lawn. You go to the lumber mill and potlatch and back your pickup truck and boom, picked up all these chips in it. But that was when Bob Reynolds calls me and said, I want you to apply for the Ohio State job. And I'm going, Bob, come on. We're going to want somebody 45 or so years old, and a lot of experience, a lot of success. He said, I want you to do it. So I did it, and I forgot about it. And I think they went through about 4 or 5 people that came to campus that they didn't like. And the story goes, Bob said, you should check this guy who's about 15th down your list, because I think he's okay. So, and I ended up going to Ohio State. And I regretted going there for the first 6 months. Every morning I woke up, looked at myself in the mirror, and said, what have I done to myself and my family? You know, I lived in Columbus, Ohio for a long time, but to me it was almost like a foreign land. You know, every house you went into when you went house hunting, everything was decorated in scarlet and gray. But I loved Ohio State University because that's where Ohio State gave me the chance to do things, and I didn't do them quite as well as I thought. They allowed me to fail, actually. My family grew up there. And eventually, after 14 years, but I just never felt like in any of these jobs that I ever got it quite right. They were just things that happened that I moved on to the next position. And then the position in Minnesota opened up, and that was important to me because I love the Twin Cities. And our family was there. So that's why I eventually made those moves. But I never, you know, when I think about my high school job, I still think, well, if I really would have done this, or I think back to when I was at Washington State, the same thing. Again, I don't know if I'm answering that question.
That was good.
Okay. What else? What do you, can I ask you a question? What's your greatest fear? Besides not getting a job. Sharks? It's very quiet when I ask that question. People look at their shoes.
Honestly, we read in the news a lot about how all these institutions are changing, the whole system is changing, and my biggest fear is that we're diving really deep into something that was relevant 20 years ago. And I don't want that to be true, but I worry about it sometimes.
Well, there's no doubt that everything is changing. I mean, just demographically, there are less kids going to college now. The pool of available students is less. I mean, I know that in both Minnesota and Wisconsin, they're making drastic programs to some of the satellite schools because enrollment has dropped so much. And we all know that I don't know what's going to happen to the tenure process because more and more positions are turning from tenure track to contract positions. And that's just the way universities are operating these days because universities are more like businesses than educational institutions. But I believe that all of you are on a pathway, all of you are on a mission because you want to make a difference. And there will always be places to make that difference. And like I said, going back to my initial comments, I would bet a lot of money that your first job probably won't be at a Big Ten university. So you may have to make a huge difference in a smaller school. You may have to make a huge difference in a school that where the group, the ensemble, the organism that you're going to work with is maybe a town and gown kind of group. But I think the big issue is knowing that you're going to go someplace and make a difference. And do whatever you can to move the program forward. That was similar to the thing. I don't know what it's like now at Ohio State, but when I was there, the marching band budget is very much separate from the budget in the school of music. So my budget for the concert band program, you'll be shocked at this, was $2,000 a year. That's not a whole lot of money. And I finally decided I'm not going to let that stop me. I there are ways to accomplish things even though you don't have the budget. You just have to be passionate. You have to be convincing. The other thing you have to learn in your careers is you're not going to win every argument. As a director of bands, I don't know how you feel, I've had to eat a lot of crow. Some issues, I've won the argument. Other issues, I just had to let go. Because I didn't, you have to keep your sights on the long term. That's another thing. If you make the commitment that you're going to be someplace for a period of time, then your decision-making process becomes very different. Rather than, well, I'm going to stay here for 3 years, and I'm going to move here. And you have to have the mindset that you're going to stay there forever. It's probably not going to happen, but you have to think that way. You have to think that way. But things are changing. And we're just going to have to adapt. I mean, you've all heard the word entrepreneurial. It's the big buzzword, right? We're just going to have to think very differently than we've done in the past. But we still have to be just as prepared. You have to study and prepare like you're going to conduct the greatest ensemble in the world. Because those students deserve that. But we're going to have to be creative, and we're going to have to just look at what our professional life. Your professional life is going to look a lot different than Mark's or mine. Just like my life is a lot different than the people that I replace. It always changes. But the important thing to know is that there's some place to go where people need what you have. And that is your love of music, your love of teaching, and your love of people. And I can tell you right now, if you're missing one of those things, you're not going to be a happy camper. I worked with an orchestra director in Ohio State who was an unbelievable musician. And I thought, if I could hear as well as as well as Marshall, if I could hear as well as he hears in 10 years, if I could be that good, and if I could be able to interpret, and if I could conduct like he conducts in 10 years, like he does now, I might be able to make a difference. And it was clear to me that Marshall loved to teach. He loved music. He did not like people. He considered students to be insufficient units to render his interpretation of the American Symphony. So what happened was the orchestra sounded fantastic, and the students hated it. Thank God that's over. So, that little trilogy, loving music, loving people, and loving teaching, that's kind of your barometer. And for me, the one that was sometimes the most difficult to really keep burning bright was the love of music. Only because I was so busy doing all the stuff. All the stuff. All the stuff. I'm German, firstborn, which is why I twitch. I'm a little bit of a control freak, I guess. So, I'm just kind of joking with you. But, literally, this is really important for you. I thought, like when I was a high school band director, it was so stupid. I just wanted that band room to look just right. All the music stands at this height, all the chairs, would do that. I would do that. And what I discovered later on in my life is there are other people that can do that. Because only you can do what? Only you can select the repertoire. Only you can study the scores. Only you can interpret the music. And the more you can delegate, and I don't mean this in a funny, negative way, but the more you can delegate, the better off you're going to be. But you have to realize, okay, so in Minnesota we did this pretty big summer symposium that had a lot of moving parts. And basically we had 4 TAs that worked that, and I gave them the responsibility for doing that because I trusted them. And so they organized basically the whole symposium. Every once in a while, something didn't work. And I went, crap, I should have done that myself. Of course, that's the wrong way to think. So if you delegate responsibility, you just have to realize every once in a while that it may not be done perfectly, but it's worth that risk. And I've also discovered that the more responsibility you give people, and the more trust you show, and even when something doesn't go well, the more invested people tend to be. But there's going to be a premium on your time. Because when I was in high school, I had hall duty. I had cafeteria duty. I didn't have bus duty, thank the Lord. Now at the university, I have committee meetings. Merit salary committee, meetings that just gobbles up all the time. Another thing I want to tell you, how many people in this room feel like they have adequate time to study your scores? Raise your hand. Yeah. Either did I. So, you know what you should do is get in the habit of taking your scores with you every place. Kind of wreaks havoc with your scores. Because when I take them every place, they get beat up. But it's surprising how much time you can find. You know, you get to the dentist office, you're sitting there, wow, look at this, take out the score and look at it for 10 minutes. I mean, I think my students in Minnesota thought that when Professor Kirchhoff goes to study scores, he goes to this very special room. He lights incense, candles, puts a shawl around his shoulders, and thinks that he thoughts. One. So I just got into the habit of taking my scores wherever I went. It's not always the best way. And the other thing, you just have to be really ahead of the game. One of the joys of being retired is I've discovered what a summer is like now. Because I used to have this horrible argument with myself. It would be, I would give myself a May, and all of a sudden May was gone, and I'm going, oh man, I've got to get on it. And then the other side of my brain would say, no. There would be this constant conversation. But I learned, because I'm a slow learner, I learned that I had to start really early. And if you don't get it done in the summer, in terms of a lot of that score study, it's just not going to happen during the rest of the year because it's just too busy. Gene Rousseau was our great saxophone teacher in Minnesota for 15 years. And I'm an early morning guy. I used to be a late night guy. So I would get to school at sometimes as early as 6:45. I was kind of a nerd. 6:45. Because if I got there at 6:45 at 7 o'clock, I had at least 2 hours where I could study and no one would bother me. And Gene's studio was on the 3rd floor, and he was an early guy. And for some reason, I could hear him through the piping. You know, so kind of made a joke of calling each other if we were. But you just have to find the time to do that. But start early. Start early. If I was going to give advice, one more thing I would say is always remain humble in the face of the earth. Remain humble in the face of the earth. And I think that's really, really important. Because if you remain humble in the face of the art form, that means that you're probably going to continue growing. You're going to learn from the best. And learning from the best just doesn't mean you're a major teacher at school. Just find people that you know they have something that you want. And go after it. Go after it. And it doesn't have to be with an institutionalized nature. And I would advise you, although it's difficult for you now at this point in your life, go to as many rehearsals as you can, watch other people. That's so important. So important. But too many people, I think, lose that sense of humility. And something goes haywire. And we're here to serve the art form, and we're here to serve the students. And that's the most important thing I can say. The other thing too is, if you in your professional life can make decisions based upon what is best for your students, you'll never go wrong. Not what's always best for your ensemble, but what's best for your students. And that can also be a powerful argument. I used to go, like a lot of you have gone probably in your high school careers, to argue with the athletic director. I wanted more and more pet parents, right? You guys have experienced that. And sometimes you win and sometimes you don't, but it's a very powerful argument when you say this is not in the best interest of our students, what they need. So making decisions that are the best for the students. I just wanted to share this. You know who John Wooden is? Or was? Who was John Wooden? Legendary coach at UCLA. Won like 3 back-to-back national championships or something like that. So I came across this biography of John Wooden. Who would think that I would find something in this book that had everything to do with what I was doing? So can I read a few of these to you? So these are quotes. And Reese says, Coach, you can think in your own mind, put in the word conductor or teacher. I always viewed myself as a teacher first, not as a coach. If you want to put that in our vernacular, I always viewed myself first as a teacher, not as a band director, as a teacher. A coach's primary function should be not to make better players, but to make better people. They were not players to me. That was incidental. They were individuals first and foremost, and that was the source of their value. They were individuals first and foremost. This one scares me half to death. Be more concerned with your character than your reputation. Your character is what you really are. your reputation is merely what others think of you. And then the last one is, each of us has a responsibility to lead our lives with a focus beyond ourselves. I mean, those are stunning thoughts. Stunning thoughts. So, if I could try to wooden biography to read it, there's a lot to do teaching. All right, we have time, I think, for a few more questions.
What do you feel our generation, maybe their struggles are that maybe your generation didn't face, or vice versa?
Mark, you want to answer that question? That's a very good question. So, when I went to school at the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, which was a very good school, I was a double major. I was a music education major and a flute performance major. And in those days, just the way the program was set up in music ed, I had to take 2 semesters of clarinet, fundamentals of clarinet. I had to take, God forbid, 1 semester of trumpet. Trumpet fundamentals class meant the hour before orchestra. And I oftentimes was doing a lot of principal playing. And the teacher said, if you don't play at least a D on the staff at your final exam, I'm failing you. I just wouldn't practice. I had to take trumpet. You had to take, took oboe, took bassoon. I had to take 2 semesters of strings. What I'm saying is I felt when I graduated that although it wasn't perfect, but I knew a lot about the instruments. A lot about the instruments. I think the disadvantage now, maybe this is not hitting the mark with the question, is that as kids go through school, now you have a woodwind pedagogy course, or a brass pedagogy course. And I think even for what we're doing, the more that we know about the instruments, the better. But it's just how the curriculum has changed. Yes, could you ask that question?
What challenges do you think our generation faces that maybe your generation didn't face, or vice versa?
Yeah, well, I think that although it was not always easy, but we pretty much knew that we knew that there were jobs out there. And they were pretty traditional jobs. And we knew that we'd probably all get jobs. And now I think that the difference is that there's still jobs out there, but the nature of those jobs are changing. And I think that's a big difference. So that doesn't mean you're not going to find jobs, because you are. It just means that you're going to have to think differently about these things. And like I said before, there's a place for you somewhere where students need what you have and need your passion. I think that's a big difference. Mark, do you have anything else?
I would say the impact of, what I would say, the impact of technology on mental health. I think there's a connection in how students are using technology, how they're addicted to technology, and the problems or challenges we're seeing in mental health emerging now. I know at Iowa, like most schools, we're really having to scramble to be able to provide the resources for what we're seeing. I think that's going to be an immense challenge for all of you, that older generation, they have other challenges, but I think that's staring you in the face.
I was at the University of Manitoba. I was doing a student convocation. I said, I'm going to give you a challenge. And the challenge is, can you put your phone down and turn it off and leave it off for 1 hour? Who can do that? There wasn't one hand that was. They all looked at me like, are you kidding? And I said, just give yourself the gift of not looking at that all the time. And I'm the same way. You know, if it's there, I tend to check it. It's one of the things I love about sailing is I can completely unplug. I can't text. I don't get emails. Can't make calls. I can actually talk to people. But that's a huge issue. Huge issue. Yeah, thanks, Mark. What else? Yeah.
Who are some of your biggest musical influences, aside from Frederick?
Yeah. My real hero, well, no, Fred wasn't a hero. The Mount Rushmore, several Mount Rushmore heroes. Carlos Kleiber for me. Again, I would sit and look at those videos and go, how do you do that? And what's interesting about Carlos Kleiber, you see him conduct, you see him make music. What people don't know is behind all of that, hours and hours of study. And people that I knew who played for Kleiber, after rehearsal, the next day they would have these little post-it notes on their music stands. Remember, letter B. They used to call those Kleibergrams. He was right inside of that music. And the other thing about Carlos Kleiber, there's a wonderful book, some of you know this book. What is it? Conversations with Carlos, which is a wonderful book to read. And you realize, first of all, he led a very troubled life. I mean, can you imagine having a mother telling you you will never be as good as your father? Because Eric Kleiber was a big conductor. He lived a tortured life. And would go to the opera house 3 hours earlier because he was so nervous. Would get sick. What a music maker. And then there's Gunther Schuller, who somehow, I don't know how this happened. Gunther and I got to know each other pretty well over the years. And Gunther would come to campus. He was at campus in Minnesota, I don't know, 3 times. And I would go, oh God, what did I do this to myself? Because you never knew what was going to happen with Gunther. But his musicianship, his knowledge of music, and his ears, that guy could hear grass grow. His ears. True story. Jerry Jenkins rehearsing meditation at the University of Central Florida. Gunther was supposed to be there at the beginning of rehearsal, and there were these big cluster chords. And Jerry's rehearsing, and all of a sudden he hears from the back of the hall, G natural, G natural. It's Gunther, just walked in. Jerry's going, oh Gunther, come on. Like, who can hear that? Who can hear that? And then, back in the clarinet section someplace, some girl raised her hand and said, it was me. It was me. You could hear that. But he cared deeply about music. Deeply about music. Bob Reynolds has always been a real mentor to me. Only because we've become such good friends over the years. And also, I was very fortunate. When I first taught at Ohio State, Bob asked me to come and teach in his summer symposium, which meant conducting the band and teaching the conducting course. So he called me one day and said, how would you feel if Elizabeth Green joined you in this conducting class? Of course I will. I said, Bob, of course. And so that's where I first got to meet her. And that woman, everything she talks about in her book, she could do. And she was the greatest teacher that I've known. I would pick her up at the Holiday Inn, and there would be these speed bumps in the driveway. And she said, Craig, stop, back up. She would teach me how to go over the speed bump. She thought I was not going over the speed bump. And you know, she was, and the other thing about Elizabeth Green and Frederick Ford, once they were on campus at the same time, and I was trying to get them to lunch at the faculty club, which is just a walk across the roadway. And they would stop every 5 steps and say, look at that. Oh my gosh, look at that. They were curious, observant people. They both had curiosity about life that was so inspiring. And then, late in her life, she called me and she said, Craig, I've had it wrong all these years. Because in the earlier editions, she would talk about the size of the pattern. She said, it has nothing to do with the size of the pattern. It has to do with the speed of the gesture. Because obviously the speed of the gesture determines the size of the canvas. But it has everything to do with what happens with the bow. It has something to do with what happens with the breath. But to think that at age, she must have been 84, 85. At that age, she was still thinking, still growing. You know, when she retired from the University of Michigan, she went to Eastern Michigan University for 4 years to get an undergraduate art degree. True story. Can you believe that? But that's the kind of, I want to be around people like that. I want to be around people like that. So I've been very lucky to have, you know, those Mount Rushmore heroes that just inspired me so much. And one of the last things I'm going to say here is that when all is said and done, the real richness of the profession, I believe, the real richness of the profession is relationships. It's all about people. When I think about the richness of my life, it is all the friends over the years and all the close friendships, people who have changed my life because of who they were. It's so wonderful. Of course it's about music, of course it's about teaching and all the other things. But you boil it down, and it's really about people. It's really about people. And the other thing, I was very fortunate. I had wonderful mentors early in my career who gave me a gift. And the gift was, you know, it's important to be a really good conductor. It's important to be a really, you know, wonderful musician. But it's also really important to be a really great person. And that's I've lived with that for my entire life. Sometimes I fail, sometimes I succeed, but it's always out there. Doing your best to be the best possible person you can be is going to screw you. Can I read one more thing to you and then we're done? How many of you, some of you know this because you've heard me talk, do this before. How many of you ever read Martha Graham? Okay, so Martha Graham was to dance, Picasso was to art, Stravinsky was to music. And if you just Google Martha Graham, her writings about being an artist are really profound. I would have this on my wall, and oftentimes would read it before I went to rehearsal. So this is Martha Graham. There is a vitality, a life force an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in the universe for all time, the expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium, and it will be lost. The world will not have it. Listen to this. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how valuable, or how it compares with other expressions. It is your business to keep it yours clearly and directly, and to keep the channel open. I find this to be profound. And what she's saying is that each of you are unique and have special gifts. And if you don't share those gifts, they're lost for all time. When you're a graduate student, it's very difficult not to compare your value to others. Am I right? I told one group of students, I said, print this out, and when you're walking around the Midwest Clinic, stop every hour and read this. It is not your business to determine how good it is. It is your business to keep the channels open, and to keep working. So listen, thanks for the conversation this morning. Godspeed to each of you for your work. And the future, our profession is very lucky to have people like you with your love of music and your love of people, and your love of teaching, just about ready to start your careers. And the road will not always be easy. That was part of my pathway. It wasn't always easy. But I can promise you that at the end of that road, when you look back and you look at your career and you understand the difference you've made in students, it will be a life well lived. I promise. All right, go in peace. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Happy holidays.